Hi, welcome back. Certainly glad you could join me today. Today I thought we'd paint the little animated opening. That's the little picture you see at the beginning of each show, and it just sort of happens. And I'll show you how that picture was made. Now, it only takes a few minutes to paint it. It takes a lot of fantastic people a long time to animate it. So I tell you what, let's start out, have them run all the colors across the screen that you need to paint along with me. While they're doing that, let me tell you what I've done up here. I have my standard old pre-stretched canvas up here, and I've covered it with a thin, even coat of the liquid white, so it's all ready to go. So let's go. Today we'll start off with a big brush, big old 2-inch brush. I'm going to go into a small amount of alizarin crimson, and you need very little color here. Just want to put a little pinkish glow in the sky, just a little. Okay, now then, let's go right up in here, and we'll just make some little crisscross strokes, and we'll just lay in a happy little sky, just like so. There we go. That's all there is to it. All there is. Now, be careful when you put this on, because we don't want to set this sky on fire. We just want to give it a little glow, make it warm. There. Okay, now then, while I have that going, there's a hair, I'll just knock it off. While I have that on the brush, I add a little touch more. Same way, just tap the brush into a small amount. And then we'll put a little touch right here where we know there's going to be some water. And crimson's not a very strong color, so it doesn't matter where we put it. If we don't like it, we can cover it up easy. Okay. Now then, we had some big clouds that was floating around the sky. We can just mix with a brush here. We'll go back into crimson. I'll reach down here and get the least little touch of phthalo blue. So we have alizarin crimson and phthalo blue, making a lavender color. Proportionately, much more crimson than blue. Much more. Okay, let's go back up here. Now then, we'll just sort of, using little circular strokes, we'll just sort of dance in some little cloud shapes. Little cloud shapes. Let me get a little more color on my brush. There. See there? And use round, go round like that, and it makes beautiful little cloud things just sort of happen automatically. You don't have to worry about it. Let the brush work. Shoot, this is a lazy man's way of painting here. There we go. And some little things down in here, wherever we want them. There, maybe up in here. Now this will not be an exact duplicate of what we did for the animated opening, but it'll be close enough that you can see exactly how it was made. There we go. Big old cloud just sort of hangs right out here and plays around. All we're doing is just filling in some color. And by mixing these colors on the brush, you get a multitude of variations that happen in here that would be very difficult to do if you were just adding these two colors on. All kinds of things just happen automatically. And you don't even have to worry about it or think about it. It just happens. Just let it go. Very quickly, with a little practice, you learn to use anything that happens here. And that's when it's really fun. Okay, I'm going to wash the brush. And we wash our brush with just odorless thinner, shake it off, and cover the whole studio. You know, I've made such a mess in here, they're moving to a new studio. There. We've got the walls covered here, and all the camera people are covered. Okay, now with a clean, dry brush, all I'm doing is just blending this out some. Just blend it out. Okay, now I'm going to take a little bit more of the color, the same blue and crimson, and we'll put a little touch where we want to emphasize a darker cloud. We want it to stand out. There. Just here and there, maybe there's a little dark or something. Makes your sky a little stronger, a little more interesting. Okay, now while I have that color on my brush, with phthalo blue and alizarin crimson, we'll add just a little bit more. And let's go down here where our water is going to be, and we can put in a little bit of water. Pull from the outside in. So you have these little feathered edges here. They're not harsh, strong edges. It's easier to blend those out. Okay, other side, a little bit over here. And as I mentioned earlier, this crimson that you have in the center will cover up very easy, so be careful. It'll go away and leave you. There. Okay. Now very lightly we can just blend this together. And that's easy. We have a happy little sky and water in just a couple of minutes. Now here all I'm doing is just blending all this together. And that's a super way to make a very effective little sky. Now, let's go back into that same color, alizarin crimson, phthalo blue. Just mix it right on the brush. It's the easiest way. And let's begin putting in some little shapes here for some little trees and stuff that live in the background. I want this to be a little darker now so it stands out. Using just the corner of the brush, we can just begin tapping in all kinds of little basic shapes. You have to make big decisions now. Where is your tree? How big is he? Does he live here? Does he live there? Where do you want him? Wherever you want him. That's exactly the right place for him to be. Is he tall, short? Okay, there he goes. There's a big one right there. There. See? Just sort of visualize this in your mind and drop it on. That's all you have to do. Anything that your mind can see, you can paint. There. Okay, now maybe there's another tree here. As I mentioned earlier, this will not be an exact duplicate of what was on the beginning of the show, but it certainly will show you how it was made. Certainly will show you that. Let's see here, a little more color. Blue, alizarin crimson. And let's go right in here. I want to add a little black to that. I want to start getting a little darker so it makes deep shadows in there. So we have crimson and blue, and now a little bit of the midnight black. And a big tree here. So we can begin putting that in. There, just think where you want the limbs to hang. There's going to be some big overhanging limbs there. There they come. And one there. Wherever you want them. Okay. And already, see, we have the whole background in. All of our basic shapes. And it only takes a second. All right, now you have to make a big decision. Where do you want reflections? All you have to do, grab it, because the canvas is wet, the paint will slide. The liquid white's under there, it allows the paint to move. Just pull it straight down, like that. And then go across lightly. And we have instant reflections. Isn't that fantastic? That easy. Now, let's use the liner brush. I'm going to dip it into some paint thinner and then go right into a little bit of Van Dyke brown. I want this to be very thin, like ink. Just straight Van Dyke brown. Turn the brush in there and pull it. That brings it to a beautiful sharp point. Liner brush has very long bristles, so it holds a lot of paint. Now we can come right up in here and let's just begin putting in the indication of some little tree trunks here and there. There, see them? Okay, maybe there's a few little things that stick out here and there, wherever you want them. These are fun to make. Now if you have trouble making your paint flow, add some paint thinner. Just means your paint's not quite thin enough. The paints that we use are very, very firm, very dry. It allows us to paint over the top of them while they're still wet. If you start with a thin paint, ooh, you're going to be in agony city, going to be upset with me. Very dry, firm paint. It's most important. There we are. Wherever you want. Just a few little sticks and twigs. Well, let's use the old 1-inch brush today. Begin putting some highlights on some of those. Okay, go right into a little bit of the yellow. This is just cad yellow. Reach up here, I'll be right back. Wait on me. There we are. A little bit of sap green added to it. Now, tap the brush. Tap it. So you give it a little push. There we are. Now let's go up here. Begin deciding where the leaves are on these trees, all the little bright things. Just sort of touch it, tap gently downward, and begin building form and shape into your tree. Don't just hit these at random. Think about little limbs that live in here and all the little places the birds are going to sit. Add a little yellow ochre, a little Indian yellow here and there. There we go. You can just make some of the most fantastic little trees and bushes just using the corner of the brush. 2-inch brush works very well also. Okay, there we are. One over here. Don't want this one left out. Okay, and then we got a big one that's way up here in the sky. Just begin creating all kinds of little patterns on his arms. There they are. Okay, now I'm going to add a little more sap green to my color. I want to begin getting a little darker. And maybe down in here, we're beginning to pick up some little individual bushes. I made this a little darker because there's shadows down here. There we go. The trees cause shadows to be here, so these shouldn't be quite as bright. Here and there, the light's going to zing through, and you might have one that shines, but overall, a little bit darker. There we go. Maybe over here, we'll have a few. But just sort of pick them out. Make determinations where you think they'd live and drop them in. There we are. Okay. Shoot, let's get crazy. I'm going to take some black, some Prussian blue. We'll use some Van Dyke brown, a little sap green. Shoot, a little crimson. Sort of mix it all together. Okay, let me clean my knife off here and grab a fan brush. There we go. Now I'm going to load the fan brush full of color, a lot of paint in it, both sides. We'll make the little evergreens that were back here. We'll have one that lives right there. Just start with a line, use the corner of the brush, and just sort of go back and forth, back and forth. There. That little evergreen will just jump right out there. Okay, let's have one right there. See there? They hide in that brush. All you have to do is just push them out. Let's go way over an end here and we'll put in a little evergreen or two over here. There he is. We'll give him a little friend. Trees need friends too. Okay. Now, let's take a 1-inch brush and pull it through that same color. And let's begin putting in some dark backgrounds here for some bushes. You need the dark so the light will show. It's the only reason we're putting this in here. Just so the light color will show. If you put light against light, you have nothing, or dark against dark. You have absolutely nothing. There. Now then, 1-inch brush, and I'm going to dip it into a small amount of the liquid white. And I dip it into the liquid white only to thin the paint. Only to thin it. Pull this in one direction, load a lot of color into the bristles. Now then, I want these to sparkle. I want them to stand out. Look at that. Here we're pushing upward with a brush. There's a lot of paint, so all you have to do is give it a gentle little push, and you can just make beautiful, beautiful little bushes back here. Now sometimes I get a lot of letters. People have problems making this work. Usually the problem is that there's not enough paint in the bristles, and you have to push too hard, and then it sort of mooshes. It's a new word I just made up. And do one bush at a time. Each one of these is an individual. Treat him as such. There we go. Now then, I'm going to go back to my lavender color, just a little blue and a little crimson. And underneath here, we're going to begin building some land masses. We need a place for that little cabin to sit. So all we do is add in a little bit of color. Once again, we're putting in dark, so our light will show. Anything that hangs down here, you just pull it down, turn it into a reflection. Look at that. It's super. Instant reflections. Now then, I'm going to grab another. Yeah, we use a 2-inch brush today. What the heck? We'll go right into the sap green, cad yellow, little yellow ochre. Just sort of mix these colors on the brush. Now then, let's begin putting in some little grassy areas. We need a nice place back here for that little cabin to sit. There. See there? It's unreal what you can do with a big old brush. All we're doing here is just tapping. Just tapping. Creates all those nice soft little grassy areas. And I'm varying the colors between all the yellows, and every once in a while the least little touch of the bright red. Don't need much of that, but it gives it a nice orangey flavor once in a while. Sparkles it up. There. Fantastic. Knew you could do it. Okay, now then, let's have some fun. I want to start working on my little cabin. So come right up in here. I'll scrape in a few little sticks and stuff with a clean knife. Now then, decide where your cabin's going to live. Now I think we'll have this one right about here. Take the knife, scrape out a basic shape. That's just about the easiest way I have found to lay out a cabin. All you have to do is just sort of scrape out where you think he'll live. And at this point, you're still not committed. You could still change your mind here, no problem. Now we'll take some Van Dyke brown, and we can begin just blocking him in. And that's all we're doing here. We're just applying color. We're still not committed. We could change our mind at this point if we wanted to. See, down the side, down the front. Just blocking in color, that's all. Once again, we're putting this dark in, so when we put a lighter color on it, it'll stand out. Okay, now, for the roof, we'll use some red, a little dark sienna, put a little yellow ochre in it too. What the heck? There, maybe a touch of white. Nice color. Looks good enough to eat. Now, a little roll of paint right on the edge of the knife. Just barely touching. Just sort of let it bounce right down the roof. Just bloop, bloop, bloop. See, just barely touch. Make it look old, like it's had a rough time. Now then, I want to put the least little bit of white on my knife and just sort of highlight the edges so they stand out nice. Now you can see that rascal. Now I'm going to go to the little knife. I'm going to take some white and midnight black. White and black on the small knife. I'm looking for a gray color. Just pull it out, and once again, our little roll of paint. Even though we're using the small knife, still that little roll of paint. Now, just barely touching. Pull down. A little bit on the other side. There. Now, toward the back of the cabin, in my mind, there's going to be less light hitting over here. So I'm going to add a little more black to my color to darken it. And come right there. That easy. You can do anything on this canvas. Have a little line right across there, and maybe here and there there's some little things. Just adds a little interest to your cabin. Give them a window too. Right here, just use a small edge of the small knife. See, there's one window. There's another window. Now we can take the knife and we can do a cabinectomy. That's where we just cut it off so it looks right. Now, back to my 2-inch brush. A little bit of the grass color. We can put some grass right around his foot, so bring him all together. It'd be nice if it was that easy to have a lawn in your yard. Now, there was a little fence out here, so just use a little bit of the liquid white on the liner brush. See, there goes our little fence. That easy. A little more, put some rails across it. And we have a little white fence out here. Maybe. Watch here. You can put one up here and go that way. Make that son of a gun go around the corner. That's sneaky, huh? Okay. Now then, find my big brush. Get a little more of the lavender color. Just phthalo blue, alizarin crimson. Tap it into this brush. Okay, now then, let's begin working on some land masses here. I have to make some big decisions. I think there was one that came right out like that. There we go. And right on down, wherever you want it. We need to pull a little reflection under that, though, so it sets down in the water. Otherwise, it won't look right. It won't come out and play with you. Okay, back to my yellows with a big brush. Tap a little in there. Okay, let's go back up here. And we can just begin highlighting all those little things. See, the dark color is only there. Once again, I know you're tired of hearing that, but it's only there so that your light color just jumps out at you. There. Layer after layer. Start the part that's the farthest away and work forward, always working forward. There. Okay. Let's take the knife, some Van Dyke brown. Let's put us some land here and there. Just an indication. Need a little bit of land to hold all this together. There we go. Like so. Maybe out here. There we are. A little bit of land out here. We don't want this one left out either. And we could have a rock down here. Whatever. If it makes you happy, it's good. Do it. Take a little brown, a little white, and just here and there, just put the indication of a little highlight. Out here on this big stone, need a little, like so. Okay, now I'm going to take some liquid white, and with that, we can just put us in a little water line. That cleans up the edges and brings everything together. And do that firmly. Act like you're trying to cut a hole right through the canvas. There. You can have a little ripple here and there if you want it. But keep these lines basically straight, or your water will look, as I've said before, it'll look just like it's going to run out of the painting and get your floor wet. Okay. Clean off my old knife here. I think it's time we had some fun. I'm going to take a big bunch of Van Dyke brown on my knife. Just pull it out, cut off a big roll of paint. Okay, now we had a big tree, and our big tree does now, right there. Just pull it in. Be brave. This is your bravery test on this painting. There we go. These trees are fun, and they really make your painting stand out. Now then, I'm going to take some white, a little bit of brown, a little touch of the bright red in it. There, just like you're laying snow on the mountain. Just let that graze. Just barely touch. Barely touch. When this is dry, it'll feel like real bark. That's what my dog does, real bark. There, a little bit of blue on the other side, just to indicate a little reflected light. Take our liner brush and go back into the Van Dyke brown, and this has paint thinner on it, so it's very, very thin. And we can come right up in here, and here, and there. We just add the indication of a nice tree branch and limbs and all kinds of things. Shoot wherever you want them. Wherever you want them. Back to our 1-inch brush. 1-inch brush, we'll go into some of the yellows and stuff. Now then, let's put some highlights. That's fantastic. All we're doing here is just tapping. Just put some highlights. I want this old tree to stand out here. Big, strong son of a gun. There. Now your thin paint will stick to the thicker paint. There we go. Just let it go right across there. You can put a little paint thinner in your paint if you want to. Just to make it a little bit thinner. All right. And I think with that, we have a completed painting. We're going to call this one finished. I hope you've enjoyed it. From all of us here, I'd like to wish you happy painting. God bless. I look forward to seeing you next time.